All right, welcome back to those of you tuning in once again. We are back with episode number 5 of Outside the Dot. I'm here, Greg Smirk Schreiber, out here hosting, and I've got my co-host Ryan Badger. You know how we start this off every time, same way, all the time. What's been going on, buddy?
Um, I've been fighting the illness. I got strep throat on Saturday, so it's been kind of kicking my butt. I've been kind of laying low, just getting back into the swing of things. Like I'm starting to get healthy again. So like today I babysitted for my aunt and uncle. So it was like 3.5 hours with my little cousins, which was fun. Made them lunch, watched them while their mom was gone and dad was at work. But really, other than that, I'm going to see Deadpool later tonight, the new one, which is gonna be pretty sick. I've been looking forward to that, going with my family. And I watched the original Twisters. I don't know if you have, but it was like the tornadoes were really fake. Like
Are you
you
talking
could
about
tell.
Twister? So,
Twister,
so
yeah,
Twisters is the new one coming out. That's the follow
yeah,
up to it.
yeah.
Okay.
So I
Yeah,
I
yeah,
saw
yes.
Twi- I
I
saw
I have
Twister.
seen Twister before. Yes.
Okay, yeah, it was so good, but like you could tell the tornadoes were fake,
Oh
and
yeah.
but it was honestly just a cool story, like them storm chasing and stuff. So I'm excited to see what the new one brings. Um, but yeah, really, other than that, I've just been kind of like relaxing, just trying to get back in to like 100% form and not be sick. And I decided to clean my room, like full clean, like closet. My room is just a disgrace right now because like I got to the point where I took like all the stuff out of my closet and it's just sitting in my room. So I still have to go through that. Like I'm sure you've gone through that
Yep.
and it's awful. So throwing
Yeah.
it
It's
over to you.
it's terrible.
How's your week?
I've just been grinding college football. My buddy, we finally started our online dynasty. He came back from Vegas. Sounds like he is interested in jumping on the pod when we're ready for some guests. So that'll
Bet.
be cool. He'll talk about kind of his interest in sports. He is a hockey guy, although with the Hawks sucking, he kind of hasn't really been too interested in hockey. But I've been grinding that. Starting an online dynasty is cool because he's so new to all of it and he doesn't
Mhm.
really understand the college landscape. So that's been a blast, honestly. To see him like get excited about it is really cool. So he's Iowa, I'm USC, fight on Trojans, and we're just kind of grinding along. Tomorrow's my birthday, so that's cool. Trying to catch Deadpool as soon as I can, but waiting on that same buddy. So whenever he's
Happy
free, we'll
happy early birthday.
yeah, get a couple HBDs down in the comments after this one for sure. Um, but yeah, I mean that's it. I mean, final weeks before I go back to work and start having to deal with people's kids every day. So
Yeah, what
it
day
is
do
what
you
it
go
is.
back?
You know what? I haven't even looked at our calendar yet. I know it's about the halfway point in August.
Oh yeah, I go back the 15th.
So we'll probably go back a little bit later than that if I had to take a guess. Like probably institute
Hmm.
days that week, something like that.
Yeah,
Uh,
what week are you on for your dynasty?
For my personal dynasty, I'm on week 11 or 12. For our online dynasty, we're on week
Yeah.
2 because he's never done recruiting before. So we
Oh,
had to
so it's
set that
taking a long time.
we had to set that all up. I had to explain everything to him about like what does what and like what you want to scout him before you start putting points into him and stuff like that. And
Mhm.
it's weird to me too because my main dynasty right now is Cincinnati. I was just trying to pick a team to just learn stuff on, and
Yeah.
to have a big dog like USC start recruiting, and now all of a sudden my fights for recruits are Oregon, and I've got
Yeah.
I've got like Michigan on some of them, Ohio State, LSU. Whereas like in Cincinnati, it's like you've got, I don't know, like maybe you have Ohio State because it's an Ohio kid, and then you lose that kid because it's Ohio State.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it's very, very different on the recruiting front, and the skill front is funny too. But I laugh because his schedule is such a cakewalk, and then there's me who week 1 I've got LSU at a neutral site game. So I walked away with a field goal victory, but yeah,
What do you guys play each other?
I don't believe we will unless we get into the Big Ten championship. So
Oh,
we're kind
okay.
of just walking it slow. We want this to be a long-term project, so try not
Yeah.
to get too crazy right out of the gate, where we hate each other. So
Stealing recruits from each other.
so that's the nice thing, is because of where he is geographically, like none of the recruits are really like the same, which is really cool.
Oh, really?
But anyway, enough college football talk. We are still a hockey podcast. I promise. I promise you. We have some kind of cool news. To me, this was interesting because, first of all, I didn't know that there were co-ed ice hockey leagues. But out in Ohio, there was a goalie proposal. They were playing against each other, and the winning goalie, the final score was 8-3, by the way. He skates out to center ice and proposes to, I guess, his at the time girlfriend, now fiance. So I sent you that. You saw it. Just kind of a little cool thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's a sweet thing, especially if you guys both love hockey. Like, if it's kind of your, like, do or die thing and you both love it with all your heart, I mean, why not do it at center ice? I mean, probably not the best place to do it after an 8-3 crushing, but, maybe if it was a little closer of a game, could have been like, hey, this might cheer you up. I'm sure it was fine either way, but still a little funny that he did it after the 8-3 L.
I mean, I can't speak on behalf of women, right? But I feel like just about any woman out there would probably rather be proposed to somewhere else. So while this is a really sweet gesture and like, yeah, the impact might be there, I can't help but think that maybe this wasn't the best spot. So I do like it. It's cool. We want to talk about some positivity because, in this world, sometimes there's a little too much negativity. So just want to give a little spotlight to that real quick. But we can talk about some goalies because we've got a couple on the slate today. We have our boy out in Buffalo getting a 5-year 4x75 extension, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. And this, I don't know how to take this. I don't know if this is a great deal, if it's a good deal, if it's an all right deal, if it's a horrible deal. I'm still kind of on the fence.
I think it's an all right deal right now. Like, I mean, the money does seem a little high. I mean, he had a 9-10 save percentage. Like, he's only had one winning season. When he came into the league, he was kind of like the Askarov at the time. Like, he was that top goalie prospect that was believed to be like the next guy. But then the Sabres ended up drafting Levi, who was then rumored to be that guy. So they have a good goalie tandem in the future if both those guys end up panning out. But like, I don't know. If he doesn't, like, this contract's gonna be rough in the next 2 years. Like, I mean,
how bad can that cap hit really be though? When we see people
with the
seeing,
cap going up.
when we see
like,
people saying, "Oh, that's a bad contract," it's always something upwards of 6, right? It's always like, "Oh, that's a $6 million a year contract that's really starting to bite people." Or above. We've got somebody like Seth Jones, where you're like really.
You didn't have to go below the belt.
Hey, I got to keep you on your toes.
Hey, that Shea contract though is gonna be looking nice in year 5 through 7.
What are you talking about? It's looking real nice. He's refusing to retire.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's in like 5 years though.
Once the contract's done, it doesn't matter. If
No,
he doesn't retire,
like,
it doesn't matter. He only burns the Preds if he retires. If he outright says, "I am retiring from hockey," then the Preds take ownership of that contract again. It's some like weird situation. But anyway, we're getting way off task here. UPL, this could be a solid deal. I think right now you send the wrong message. And this is coming from a team who just signed a goalie long term. If you really think Devin Levi is the guy, this sends the wrong message.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm at a loss for words. I like Devin Levi as a guy. Like, I watched the Chicklets podcast interview with him, and
huge interview, by the way.
Yeah,
huge. If you need somebody who's just gonna be so real with you, that is a great interview to watch.
He's a big Star Wars guy. He opened up about everything, like why he does the meditating and stuff. But yeah, I agree. This sends the wrong message. Like, Levi is supposed to be this like superstar goaltender and signing UPL to a 5-year deal upwards of like close to 5 million. I mean,
Close.
if Levi does end up turning out to be the guy, you don't want a guy making 475 on your bench for 75% of the year. It's just wasted cap, and where Buffalo's at, they kind of need that cap in other places to try and get like that top tier guys, put them over the edge and get them into playoffs.
Is there any chance that let's say Levi revitalizes, right? He bounces back because he's shown flashes. We've seen that. Is there any chance this turns into like a 50-50 situation, kind of like what Boston has done during? Yeah, you think so? You think it could turn into that?
There's definitely the possibility, and I honestly think that's probably the better way to go. But then you saw what Boston ended up doing, shipping Olmark out. So
Did.
I mean,
I think it's a lose-lose situation, no matter what. No matter what way you slice this one, I think it's a lose-lose. I really do.
Because you'll have a unhappy goaltender either way, and then that leads to drama, and then you'll have to ship one out, and then they'll know they kind of got you by the wrist, and you may not get the package you want. So I mean, I wouldn't mind 50-50, just whatever helps Buffalo get in the playoffs because they've been out for too long.
They've got so many young guns too that I would love to just see be in the playoffs and just kind of get that year under their belt, even if they don't take a deep run. Just to see them get there would be good.
It's just the experience they need, which will help them in the future. And I think another reason they missed, like getting kind of off topic, but Tage Thompson having the year he had last year, he highly underperformed.
Fell off a cliff.
I mean, it could have been him overperforming when he got the 50 goals, but did he get 50 or was it 40?
That I'm not sure about. I want to say it was high 40s. I don't think he got 50.
But yeah, that could have just been overperforming, but I think he has the ability to have that like high-end scoring mentality and to like just perform at that level in general because
47.
like the clips that because the clips that came out, like he was dancing around guys and he's 6'6", like he's huge.
Yeah, he's a big guy. And to have mitts at that size, crazy.
Yeah.
So
he would dance around goaltenders.
Yeah, I mean they need him. They need him to take that step. We can deep dive that in a couple weeks when we hit our previews before the season starts.
Yeah, speaking of dancing around goaltenders, that clip I sent you earlier of McDavid undressing Saros, that was gross. That was gross.
This guy. He wouldn't send it to me if it was any other tendy, by the way.
I wouldn't, if I'm being honest.
So, yeah, that's a little behind the scenes there. That's what happens. We just kind of poke jabs at each other about being rival fans. So at the end of the day, we're tight, but we do get a little chippy. It happens. So the plan is to, about 4 weeks away from opening night, we'll break down each division. So that's what's kind of coming up. That's what's kind of around the corner. And then we'll kind of take a look at who we think will, either make the playoffs, miss the playoffs, that kind of thing, kind of overview of teams. But we have some more extensions. We have one of these is a arbitration, or did they avoid arbitration with this one?
The Whalstrom deal?
Yeah.
Yeah, they avoided it.
So that was a deal to avoid arbitration. So let's talk about that one because that one's a quick one. Oliver Whalstrom taking a 1-by-1 to avoid arbitration, which, to be honest, I don't think the arbitrator would have given him more than this. So I'm not sure. I mean, for a guy that's played 32 and had 2 and 4, I don't know.
I mean, he's had multiple seasons under his belt too.
Yeah,
like, I'm pretty he was a rookie in 2020, 2021.
Yeah,
like it's been 3 years now.
I mean, that's the thing though, is like at some point you got to show the flashes, or it's a $1 million deal. I get that. Like in the grand scheme of things, it's very low, but
yeah,
at that point, why not just bring up one of your younger veterans? One of your veterans from the A. Just bring him up and be like, hey.
Well, I mean, the thing is the Islanders don't have a good prospect pool, so like they're kind of handcuffed here.
Yeah, the Islanders are a mess.
Yeah, they sent their only good one to Vancouver, and the what deal was that? the where they sent Atu. Oh, Bo Horvat. It was that one. To get Bo Horvat, they sent Atu Rati, their like top tier prospect, who was like realistically a B tier prospect.
They were hyping him up for so long too, and he still hasn't popped. Like, I just want to throw
Yeah.
that out there. I'm just throwing that out there. So
But
yeah, Isles are gonna need some help. That's for sure.
yeah.
And this is not the move that does it. This isn't it. One more extension to go over before we kind of get to more of the rumor side of things, and then we have some other news to talk about. We have Konecny out in Philly getting an extension, almost 9 a year, an 8 by 8.75. This is a huge deal, and if I'm being honest, I didn't see it coming.
He has one more year left, right? Which is why it's an extension.
Yes, correct.
All right, I think he really has to pop off this year for this to be worth it, because I think this is a big overpay. He had 68 points last year, and he's gonna be getting just under 9.
I think this is a deal where we finally see somebody being like, "Hey, we're going to sign your extension now, knowing that the cap's gonna go up, so we will take that slight overpay." So,
Yeah.
like, realistically, he's probably in the range of a $7-8 million player. That's what I would say is probably about a fair value for him.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like, Konechny's a solid player. Like, he's got grit, he's got skill. Like, he's probably their best player right now, besides Michkov. Like, their best veteran player.
I don't think we can even say Michkov's their best player yet. We haven't seen him.
Well, yeah, exactly. But like, Michkov's obviously going to be the best rookie. Or
for
them,
yeah.
not like league wide, but
league wide he might be.
I mean,
it might be.
The Calder race is going to be sick, but the
Calder race is going to be nasty. Yeah,
that's going to be a different topic for another day.
That is, yeah, that'll be a good one too. Yeah, I don't know. Konechny, I think the big thing is he's close to a point per game. I mean, 68 points in 76 games is pretty solid.
Yeah,
and to my knowledge, he plays a pretty solid two-way game. So I don't hate this, but I do think it's a little high. But again, I think that this is one of those things where they paid now
going up.
and then said, hey, we'll throw in a little extra. Yeah. So Philly will be interesting to watch next year. I mean, it is a reminder they were so close to the playoffs in a year that everybody thought they would be a bottom 5 team. So,
and I like what they're doing in Philly right now. Like, they're kind of like, I like what Danny Briere and Keith Jones are doing over there. Hiring both of them was definitely a good move. And like, because Philly was so like, they were like gridlocked for like years on end. And now they've kind of like broke loose after the hiring of those two. And I think they're going to be in the playoffs for years to come.
I mean, look at what they did with Owen Tippett last year. They turned him around.
He's gross.
He's a whole different player. He's literally a whole different player.
I'm a big Owen Tippett fan, though.
So I think that team's trending in the right direction after making some questionable moves, including acquiring one Ryan Ellis, who I believe has played about 4 games for them. Yikes.
Yeah. They just put his contract.
That was another brutal move.
Oh.
I don't know. So you kind of got to take those swings, though, in this league. Yeah. You have to take those swings, and you know what a ceiling is of a guy, and you're like, hey, we got to hope that he can play to that. When Ryan Ellis was healthy, I wouldn't say he was like a top 15 defenseman by any means, but
he was very, very usable.
The offensive upside of him when he was healthy was almost immeasurable. Like, that's how good he was. So you take a swing on that, and sometimes you're going to get burned. It happens. But, yeah, team definitely headed in the right direction right now. I know not a lot of people are Torts fans, but I am. I am a huge believer in him. So I think that he very much shows the old stubborn ways for sure. Whereas,
speaking of taking swings, like, on players that don't pan out, Seth Jones was one of those examples. Like remember when the Hawks
the extension? Come on.
Well, I know. It was a sign and trade. That was bad. But like the Blackhawks were getting ready to go for like one final run with Kane and Taves, like, because they knew they knew they were breaking up, so they brought in Fleury, they brought in Seth Jones. Like, they kind of bolstered up their team to like have one last chance.
You want to talk about something that was really weird was seeing Marc-Andre Fleury in a Blackhawks sweater. That was odd, dude. I went to a game when he was there, and I was like, "What is this?" Like, it was like mutiny. I was like, "What?" Like,
is this NHL franchise mode?
Yeah, literally. Like, wait, who let him walk in free agency? What are we doing here?
And
Yeah.
do you remember the trade? It was from some like nobody prospect
It was.
that I don't even think's like touched the NHL.
Was that the trade where like they traded somebody who was like on their AHL roster but wasn't even their property? Was it that trade? There was some super weird trade, and I want to say the Hawks were involved, and it was somebody who like was on their AHL roster but wasn't their property and was like Carolina's property or something because Carolina didn't have an AHL team. It was something really bizarre. I'll have to fact check myself on that afterwards, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I mean, you do have to take those swings, and when you have those one final runs, you kind of owe it to those guys, right? Like, I think that's why Dubas took the swing on Carlson, thought that he would give Sid, a final deep run, and Sid's still going, but
and the Caps are doing that with Ovi right now.
I mean, like, is that really what they're doing though?
I mean, it's hard to say because it's really like once Ovi gets the goal record, I mean, it's like he's done, right? He needs 42 more. He's got 2 years left probably. Like, I don't see him going much past like them where he's at now because he significantly slowed down this year, and we saw him kind of have like different sparks of life throughout
I was
the
just gonna
season.
bring that up. I was just gonna bring that up where we saw flashes where we're like, "Oh, Ovi's back, and then he would.
Yeah, it was kind of like one of these. Like,
it was like a literal roller coaster, but like,
yeah,
it was more of like an underground roller coaster because you're like, all right, Ovi, you're disappearing, and then all of a sudden he's like up here again, and then boom, right back down. So, yeah, I don't know. So it's hard to say that they're trying to give him one final run. I think that team will be competitive though.
I agree. They'll probably be fighting for that wild card spot like they were this year.
I mean, they did make it, but I mean, they needed a lot of help.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the Capitals though, and they've had a pretty good offseason. Like, if I had to give them an offseason grade, I'd probably give them like an A-, B+, A-, somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
And now there's rumors that they want to go ahead and swing on Patrick Laine, who had a disappointing year last year. Still fairly young, even though it feels like he's been around forever. But out of Columbus, we're hearing that they want picks or prospects and not a roster player. They don't want someone who's NHL ready because it doesn't fit their window.
I'm like for Laine, I mean, we've kind of seen he's had problems like since he entered the NHL. Like in Winnipeg, he had the 4-day problem, which is kind of funny looking back now. But and then
problem?
Yeah. Like they would leave TVs in different hotels and like just leave them there. So when they came back, they'd just bring their Xbox or whatever. And getting off topic, but but then he entered the player assistance program last year. I don't know why. Do you know why or no?
I don't think that's ever public knowledge. Unless the player comes out and like specifically says, "Hey, this is what was going on." I don't think the public is ever supposed to know.
Okay. Well, he only played 18 games last year before entering the program, which I hope he gets well soon. I hope that for anyone that enters the program. But like they just kind of got a Patrick Laine and Pierre-Luc Dubois, if we're being honest. So would you want to
like I don't love that comp. No, I don't love that comp actually.
Really?
I mean,
they're similar
character-wise, yes, I love that comp.
I mean, they're similar builds. I mean, one plays center, one plays wing, but like they're both goal scorers, and they're both big guys. Like,
yeah, I mean the builds are similar too. Yeah, I'll give you that. I feel like Laine is more of a like quintessential sniper archetype player.
Yeah.
Whereas like when Dubois is not complaining, he's more of like the scrappy kind of bang home a rebound type guy.
when he's not complaining.
I mean, there's been a lot of rumors that he is just an absolute pain to play with, like that it's just so hard to do.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know. I think this is the wrong move for the Caps. I think
I agree.
if the price is low enough, if they're like, hey, we'll give you a 4th round pick, and they're like, sure, like, then maybe you take that swing. But
Yeah, like a 4th round pick and a middle prospect, because it said they want a prospect, right? I mean, I don't think you're gonna get a high end prospect from the Capitals.
so I'm
And
unsure if they want to pick and a prospect, or if
or
it's
one or
like
the
just
other.
both. Like, we'll take picks or prospects. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't
Yeah.
know exactly what that entails, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't pay anything higher than a 4th round pick. That's for sure.
Yeah. Me either.
No way. Moving on. Let's go ahead and skip over to something that is a little unrelated to all of these signings, but it is related to trades. Now, I know that you follow college hockey a little bit better than I do, and we have some big names coming out of these big powerhouse schools. Boston College has been one lately. We've seen Boston rise, but Michigan's been making a lot of names for themselves, and they are in the news once again for one of their draftees out in Winnipeg. What can you tell me about this situation? What can you tell me about this kid?
I mean, Rucker McGroarty, he's a disgusting player. Like, I remember watching the Frozen Four, and just like whenever he got the puck, like you knew he was a threat, and he's able to score from anywhere in the offensive zone, and he's not afraid to go in the corners. Like he'll go throw a body and then go back check as hard as he can. Like he's that type of guy, and he was very high on the points list last season, and I'm pretty sure he was a freshman. Or no, I'm not sure. He'll be a sophomore or junior this year. We could fact
I think
check
he'll be a
that.
junior this year, right?
Okay. And then like I mean, but I think what he's doing right now is kind of ridiculous. Like he's kind of demanding an NHL roster spot, and he doesn't want to be traded anywhere other than a place where he will get that. Like I don't know. Like when you're Cutter Gauthier did that, but I mean he didn't have those demands to public knowledge. Like knowing what we know about the two situations, like they're it's hard to say, Like I don't know what are your opinions on it, cuz I have mine and
So
I'll
I
expand on it more.
so I respect that he says, "Hey, look, I don't want to play in Winnipeg." That's fine.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that. Hey, I don't want to play in this specific city. Cool. We're good. We'll find the right trade for you. We'll get you somewhere that you would rather play at. Cool. Still, so far, so good. Now, when you're going to start making demands that say, I'm only going somewhere that's going to give me a spot from day one, now I'm out.
Yeah.
Now that's a character problem.
Cuz you have to earn that
Correct.
spot on the roster. Like you're not just going to walk into training camp and be like, "Hey, I'm on the team, so I don't have to try." Like that, like just doing what he's doing now, like reminds me of a Pierre-Luc Dubois. And if
Yep.
he's not getting his way, it's gonna be like he's not gonna try on the ice. And I don't. If you're an NHL team, you honestly don't want that.
We've seen that a lot lately. We've seen a lot of
Yeah,
guys where like they look for a trade and then all of a sudden their effort on the ice is abysmal. And some coaches are not afraid to bench them, and then others are like, "You make too much money, I'm not going to bench you." So it's this
yeah,
weird back and forth. But to circle back to this situation, it's like it's so weird to me that this whole thing started because Winnipeg told him you're starting in the AHL next year. That's what happened. They said, "Hey, we want you to start in the A, and then if things are going well, we'll move you up."
and
And
that's
he's like, "No, I'm
100%
out."
reasonable. That's reasonable,
Absolutely.
especially where Winnipeg is at a team. Like they were like in like in air quotes like contenders
Yeah.
going into playoffs.
Who was it? Was it
Like
Merles? Was high on Winnipeg?
yeah, I think
Was
him
it
and
Merles or
Army were.
Army? It was
I think it
one
might.
of them.
Yeah, but like Winnipeg, like if they didn't get steamrolled by Colorado,
Colorado. Yep.
like they Hellebuck just had an egg. Like He just had a lull in his Vezina Trophy season. Like sometimes that happens,
Can he
and you're
play in
just
big
kind of.
games?
That's another topic for a
That is
different
another
time.
topic.
But
That's not a right now topic, but
if we get to next year and the same thing happens, then it'll be a topic. But
then it'll be a topic for sure. Yeah,
yeah,
I don't think that he's as much as the skill level is there. I don't think that he's a guy that you can just go in and be like, "Hey, I'm starting. Here we are. Let's go."
yeah,
I mean, if you look at their top 6, he doesn't slide in there, and he probably doesn't want to play bottom 6 minutes, even though that's probably where he fits in best, given his physicality. But I think that we've hit a point where college players might have a little bit too much sway. And I don't know how you feel about that, but this is little Preds fan bias here. We had a kid once upon a time that was supposed to be our savior. He was supposed to be this prospect coming out of college. We drafted him, and he said, "Nope, not signing in Nashville." Jimmy Vesey, by the way.
it was Jimmy VC.
It was Jimmy Vesey.
Well,
And so he spurned us and ended up signing. I can't remember where he signed right away. But he
was it Rangers?
I was it the Rangers or was it Buffalo?
I
Did he play in
I don't
Buffalo?
know.
I don't know. It was
I
one of
don't
those
think
two
so.
teams. It might have been the Rangers. But anyway, he waited out the signing period where like the draft rights lapse, and then was like, all right, now I get my pick of the lot because now I'm a free agent. So to circle this back to our current topic, now players are getting a little bit more brazen and just being like, hey, I'll help you out. I'll let you get something from me, but get me out of here. I'm not playing for you. So I don't know what your thoughts are on. I mean, I'm not saying players shouldn't have control. They should be welcome to play somewhere that they want to be playing. But at what point is
Yeah,
too much control there?
yeah, I think it's getting more out of hand now just because we're seeing it more and more, and the demands keep getting higher and higher. Like, okay, if you don't want to play here, nice. We'll get something for you, and then you could go have your career somewhere else. But now, like, people demanding to play or like to get NHL roles right off the bat, like back in the day, you had to earn stuff, and like, I mean, I'm a younger kid and like I still work for everything I get. Like even at hockey, I'm captain of my team and like some days I don't think I deserve that and some days I think other people do. And that's just a me thing. Like some days I don't perform to where I think I should, but I still find ways to have an impact on my team and on the game or if it's practice.
Right. Definitely. I mean, that's important to work for it, and obviously they worked so far to get to this point,
Yeah.
just to kind of I don't want to say blow it all away, but I
Yeah.
mean, there's going to be some people that are going to be turned off by this. There's going to be people that are like, I don't want to trade for that. Why would I trade for that asset if there's an issue?
Do you think do you think he even gets traded anymore, like, after what's happened?
It's tough. I heard the Habs were close, and I've heard that from a couple different articles were stating that they were pretty close to
Mhm.
acquiring him, but didn't want to give up the high end prospects back,
Yeah.
which was part of the kind of hang up. I can't remember the name that was tied to that they didn't want to give up, but I don't. It's so tough. If I'm a GM, I'm not trading for him, and I think
Same.
that if I'm a GM that has him, whoever the highest offer is, I'm getting rid of him. I think
Yeah.
that's just the way that it goes because you can't risk waiting him out and then him just being like, well, I'm not playing. Like I'm literally not
Yeah.
playing. So
Mhm. Just take what you can get and kinda move on.
yeah, that's my take. Even if he is supposed to be this very high tier prospect that fell to, I believe, the
Yeah.
second round.
No, I don't think it was the second round. He was a first round pick by Winnipeg. It
Was he
was
first round?
later for
Was it
yeah, I
late
think it
first?
yeah, I think it might have been, like, 23 or something. I could be wrong on that, but I could fact check that if you wanna move on to the next topic.
Yeah. So Patrick Laine will maybe have a new bench boss, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see if he ends up leaving because the Blue Jackets have found their guy. We've got Dean Evason, and he has a pretty good track record up until you look at last year. So just kind of rattling off some numbers here. He has in a COVID shortened season, he went 35, 16, and 5. It's a pretty solid season. Lost in the first round of the Vegas Golden Knights. I can't really say too much about that. Vegas has been a wagon. Then the next year, he gets a full season, goes 53, 22, and 7. Pretty solid run. Loses in the first round again to St. Louis. Maybe that one's kind of on him. 2 years ago, you have him going 46, 25, and 11, and once again losing in the first round to Dallas. Now, if I remember correctly, he started off this year horribly, and that led to his firing, but this seems like it could be a pretty good hire. I think Minnesota had some expectations, but I don't think they were that high. And now Columbus has got some young pieces too, so maybe this works out.
Yeah, I think this is a great hire for Columbus. Oh, by the way, McGroarty was 14th overall in 2022.
Okay. Maybe the 2 from 2022 is what just got me hung up.
Yeah, so he was pretty early in the draft. But back to Dean Evason, and before we go to that, Minnesota's like always lost in the first round, if we're
Yeah,
being honest.
like
Even
forever.
back like back when the Blackhawks were good, we'd crush them every first round and then move on to like Dallas or
I think
it
that's
was
a team.
mainly St. Louis
I think that's a
at
team
the
we've
time.
never played in the playoffs. Like every year they're in
Really?
it too, but I don't think Nashville's ever played them in the playoffs. Anyway,
That's funny. But yeah, I love this hire if you're Columbus. Like this guy's had a winning pedigree and with a Minnesota team that wasn't that good this year, they were off to a rough start.
brutal start.
And like even the Oilers had a rough start and we saw what happened who was their coach before? Jay Woodcroft?
Before Knobloch, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's Jay Woodcroft. And like we saw him get canned. He'll probably get a job later, but if you're the Blue Jackets, you see this guy's had consistent 100-point seasons and you're loving this. Like in the future, I could see Columbus being a consistent high 90s 100-point team like with this guy behind the bench. Maybe they'll struggle in the playoffs, but I mean it's hard to predict the future, but I like this hire.
They've got some solid young pieces too. I mean, we'll
Yeah.
we'll deep dive that a little bit later, but that could be scary if he could take this team and kind of show some fight. I mean, they don't even need to be competitive. I'm not expecting them to be a playoff team. I don't think many people are. But as long as you can show some fight and you can get some flashes out of those young pieces, I think that this hire is looking amazing.
I 100% agree.
Okay, so from coach to goalie, we've got Jeremy Swayman in the news. And this one is because there's a lot of speculation on his deal. And there are some sources that have been asked what his next deal could look like. And those are some pretty hefty numbers because I'm seeing 8x10 or 8x9, which is a heavy deal.
Right off the bat, I think that's too much.
He is a great tendy. But
I know he is, and he showed that this year and last, but I still believe that's too much.
that is heavy.
Like, I mean, I get it if you're Vasilevsky and Shesterkin, but like I still think Shesterkin's paid too much because he's in the 10 range, right?
I believe he's 10 on the nose, no?
I think he is, yeah. I think that's too much. I think goalies, even if you are the best, should be making 8, like 8 and below. And that's just in my opinion, but
Sure.
I think having a goalie take up an eighth of your salary cap is insane.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a little wild. I think I'm a little more on board with the 9 mil a year, obviously, on the
Yeah,
lower
same,
half of
same.
that. But man, I mean, I understand locking him down for 8.
Yeah,
And the weird thing is the way that the NHL works is your cap hit goes what the average annual value is. So that's what AAV is. And then what happens is a lot of these guys will try and backload their contract. Well, that doesn't really work because you still have this total number of what your contract's worth. You divide it by how many years, and that's how you get your AAV. So you can't just be like, oh, well, these first 2 years you'll make 4 mil, so we have ways to build around you, because that average annual value is what goes against your cap. So I I just don't know. I feel like that's so much, as good as he is, and he is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know that you can pay a attendee that much. Now, obviously, a little silly because Nashville just paid Saros so much money, but here's the difference. We haven't seen Swayman take on that heavy of a load. Like, as a Nashville fan, I've consistently seen Saros take over like 80% of our games played. Can Swayman
he's always been 50-50.
Exactly. So can he take on that extended workload that's expected, because they're going to have Korpisalo as a backup? You're not having Korpisalo march out there and go 50-50. Like,
Well, I mean, we saw him kind of take charge in the playoffs and saw what he did, but they only played 2 rounds.
correct.
So I mean, they were out in 6 against the Panthers, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or was it 5?
They got worked by him this year, didn't they? Wasn't it 5? They won game 1 and then lost 4 in a row.
Yeah, so it was 12 games. 12 games he played in the playoffs. Like, is that a big enough sample size to be like, hey, I'm gonna sign this big $80 million deal, $90 million deal, and prove that I'm a number one goalie? I mean, he definitely is a number one goalie, but we've just haven't seen him take on that workload.
I just don't think the conversation's on if he's the number one or not. Like, that's that. There's a no doubter on that one. He's the number one.
Yeah.
But what kind of workload can you give him? Can you go 70-30? Like, can he take on that much? I don't know. Like, you're getting, I mean, Shesterkin, let's keep in mind, though, Shesterkin got bailed out this year. Jonathan Quick was incredible during the regular season for them.
He might have been like the reason they won the President's Trophy. Like, if I'm being honest.
For sure. Shesterkin looked awful at times during the regular season.
I think Jonathan Quick probably had the quietest, best season in the league last year.
Would not disagree about that. So we'll agree that Swayman needs a contract. We'll say that this has to be on the lower end, just because 10 mil for a goalie is a lot. And Boston has usually been done, has done a really good job of getting their guys to take a lower value for the rest of the team. So we'll see what gets done there, what happens. Probably Thanksgiving-ish is probably the latest he'll sign.
Yeah. Does he have 1 year left, or is he like?
I think is he RFA?
I'm not sure.
I think he's RFA.
I know he went to
arbitration. That might be it.
Okay, because he went to arbitration last year, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe you're right, and I think that's why he's being so difficult about contract extension talks. Does a lot. All right, going to arbitration does a lot. Fighting over money, man. Fighting over money. Don't do it. Don't do it. Some tougher news, or at least tough based on what he was involved in. Stan Bowman back to the league. He is taking over as the Oilers GM. Of course, that position was vacated earlier this offseason. I have a lot of Blackhawk friends, of course, us being in the Illinois area, and a lot of them don't even like this. And they say that he shouldn't even be back in the league. He's not even that good of a GM. That's not my take. That's my friend's take who follow the Blackhawks. What do you think about this?
I mean, I like just seeing what Jeff Jackson did over the offseason and what he did with the signings and free agency. I think he was honestly a better candidate. And I don't think Stan Bowman was the best candidate for this job. I know he's the front writer right off the bat once he got reinstated, but
Sure.
like just like the questionable trades that he made back in Chicago, and again what he did in the past, that's
was kind of the trade.
He did send Tavo away. Kyle Davidson he cleaned up his work. No big deal. Bowman also sent Panarin, a young Panarin coming off a Calder,
That's tough.
for Brandon Saad.
Hey,
So
listen. Brandon Saad was actually a serviceable NHL player. Was he worth what
okay,
Panarin has become? No,
no,
definitely not.
no,
But
that
I'm
might go
just
down
saying,
as
at the time,
that's
Brandon
one of the
Saad was solid.
that's one of the worst trades in NHL history.
I will raise you a Martin Erat for Philip Forsberg.
Okay, that's also bad, but like I saw like a mock trade. It was like Stan Bowman's first move as a Oilers GM, and it was Draisaitl for Saad 1-for-1.
I I would not watch hockey anymore. I'd be done. I'd be out of here.
Back to Bowman being a GM.
Brandon Saad, if you're out there, I'm sorry. You're getting the dog days right now, my man.
he's getting cooked right now.
Yeah, mostly by you.
I don't care. His jersey's in the background right there.
I've stood up for him. You're just dogging him.
I love the guy. I've got a signed picture from him. He's a dog. But like that trade, he didn't need to come back. He served his time, and we had Panarin.
It's
Like
true.
we probably wouldn't be where we are now if we still had Panarin. But back to Bowman. Back to Bowman. I like again. I said earlier. I don't think he was the best candidate for the job. I think he'll be serviceable, but I honestly think the Oilers should have probably avoided this with their current situation, and they have cup aspirations, as everyone knows. So I'm against this move. I think he probably would have been better, like almost rebuilding a team instead of trying to keep a contender.
Yeah, I don't know about this one from the whole standpoint of the press nightmare more than anything, right? Like you're gonna constantly be hounded about it. So
Because you're in Canada as well, and the media is awful up there.
the media is awful, specifically from what I've heard, is specifically awful in Edmonton and Toronto specifically are like the two really bad spots for media up there. And now you're bringing in somebody who was a centerpiece of a really big scandal that they just kind of covered up. So, I don't know. His moves are questionable. This hiring is questionable.
Seth Jones.
Seth Jones. Let's kind of pivot this question away. We know that Bowman and Quenneville were reinstated together. You think Quenneville comes back? Should they be back? I know we've talked about this, but now that we've seen one of them come back, you think Quenneville gets back?
I don't know if he comes back this off season,
Sure.
but I definitely we know that people are gonna get fired during the season, and I think if he doesn't get hired during the season, he'll definitely get hired next off season. It's just kind of like a no-brainer if you're a team like Coach Q. He's the coach of the Blackhawks all the years they won the cup. Like he's a great coach, and I don't think he had much involvement in the case besides not like saying anything.
I don't know, man. That's a tough one. We don't have that insider info.
Yeah, I don't. That was kind of like a just out of the blue statement by me.
No, all good.
So
All good.
I'd have to fact check that, but I think it's a no brainer if you want a good coach. I think he'll be probably the best on the market that you'll get.
He is a good coach, for
yeah,
sure.
disregarding previous actions.
Right. No, definitely. Just wanted to see where you're at with that. I don't think either of them should be back in the league. Just to kind of quick hit that, close it out. Just if you were a part of that, you just shouldn't be a part of hockey. I'm sorry. That's something that's inexcusable.
Yeah.
I mean, the guys in the locker room, obviously, that's a whole different situation. If they knew about it and hid it, we don't know, but shame on them. Got a couple of closing topics before we round it out and end it off. This one we can kind of quickly go over because I don't know how big of a deal it is. Kyle Dubas got named to Canada's management group for the Four Nations face-off. Now, this is not him making the executive decisions. It sounds like it's more of like a roundtable kind of deal. Interesting, given that I don't really like his moves that he's made as a GM ever. So I don't know if this is because he's like, they're like, hey, Sid's on your team. Like, I don't know. I really don't. Like, that's what it feels like. It's like, hey, you got that Crosby kid on your roster. And we're like, yeah, okay. Like, I don't know. This one really is the biggest head scratcher.
Yeah, I mean, he's a seasoned veteran GM, so I mean, as long as he's not making all the decisions, like you said, it's a round table,
Yeah, it's what
and
it
that's
sounds
how
like.
that's how it should be with like a almost Olympic style tournament.
Yep.
So I agree with the round tables. So if he's not making like executive decisions, I mean it's fine by me, I guess. Yeah, I mean I'd probably rather him make bad moves. Being I'm gonna be cheering for the U.S. So
I don't know, man. With that Canada talent pool, can you really make bad decisions? I mean,
no,
like that's just the way that is. We can move on from that. Just wanted to
yeah.
bring it up because it is a little noteworthy. Very questionable timing considering Dubas's moves and whatnot. He's had a very interesting offseason. We have the Suns owner. Sorry, I don't have his name. The Suns owner wants to bring hockey back to the desert, and he wants to bring this back as an expansion team. So obviously, the Arizona Coyotes moved. They are now the Utah Hockey Club, I believe, for the upcoming season. Which means that they would not be able to buy back that spot, and they would have to apply for expansion. The Suns owner would like to build a new arena that would be a dual-purpose arena for both the Suns and this expansion hockey team. And being from the Illinois area, and we both go to Blackhawks games, me to go cheer on the away team and you to go cheer on the Blackhawks. We are used to this. We're used to, seeing the Bulls banners up there, seeing the Hawks banners up there. I want to light them on fire, but that's just the way that it is.
A little jealousy much.
Hey man, we have our banners. They're just not for winning cups, all right? We're a meme.
What a
It's
Stanley
fine.
Cup final appearance.
Hey, listen. Our banners are a meme. I'd take the meme over the actual banner at this point. But this is just really interesting timing because they just lost the Coyotes, and now all of a sudden you got this owner being like, "Hey, I'm assuming he's a billionaire. He's like, I got the cash. Let's go." Like he's about to pull up and Manziel. He's about to be like, "Let's go, baby." Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, I don't know why this wasn't brought up sooner. If this was an interest in mine, I'm guessing he was probably waiting for Morello to step down. That would be my guess.
I would
But
have
I
to assume
mean,
so.
yeah, I'd love it if the Coyotes came back as an expansion team, and they'd come back as the Arizona Coyotes, right? Or would they come back as Phoenix? Just do if they go to the same arena.
There has been absolutely no intel on what it would look like if they came back. It's just that this owner wants to bring a hockey team back to the desert and wants it to be split with the Suns, like splitting that arena time with the Suns.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I think hockey belongs in the desert. I've been to a few games out in Arizona, and I loved it out there. I mean, that's just being because I'm a hockey fan and I was a little kid, but
Sure.
so there's gonna be excitement. But I think the Coyotes need to be back in the league. I don't know how divisions would work then, like where they would be if I had to guess in the Western Conference, but
They would have to be in the West for sure.
yeah. But yeah, just overall, I think this is a step in the right direction after having so many setbacks in the past.
I don't love being at an odd number. And I know that's like probably a
Same.
really routine thing to say. I didn't love it when we were at 31 when Vegas came into the league. I wouldn't love it if this team came into the league and would make it 33. I don't know. I think that's something that definitely is kind of up in the air. I doubt they would ever do this, but we have seen two expansion teams come in at the same time. That has been a thing, but I would personally love it that way instead and get up to 34 and have that even number, preferably like an Eastern team that joins at the same time would be awesome.
Like Atlanta or something.
I've been hearing a lot of Quebec City is a big one.
It'd have to be that or Atlanta, but
do we give Atlanta another shot?
They had 2 shots already?
They have had 2 shots already. Yeah.
I think it's just a bigger market, and with like the TNT stuff blowing up, that's in Atlanta. So I think it just makes it more of a safer option in a way. because Quebec City's a lot smaller.
Yeah, but that French market,
Yeah.
they are passionate,
Who
my
knows?
man. They will never stop. They will never stop talking.
Who knows? But building off that expansion thing, I'd almost rather just have it stay at 32 for a few years because we've had Vegas and Seattle come into the league.
Yep.
Like, not even what was it? 21 and 23 they came, or no, 21 22.
What? 21, 22, what? When
When
Vegas
did
came in?
yeah, it was they came in like the
They were
summer of 2020.
weren't they 19?
Oh yeah, it was 19. My bad.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna say.
it was a 4-year mark, like 4-year difference. So I think they'd have to wait like 2 more years to at least put Arizona back in.
Yeah, I
And
believe
not
there is a
saying that,
cooldown as well.
yeah,
Like I don't think that they would come right in,
yeah,
but it is important to know.
but yeah, hoping for hockey back in the desert.
So it was the 2017-18 season was when Vegas
Okay,
came in.
okay.
Where was the year? Pretty sure two teams came in at the same time.
Why was
Yeah,
I
so
thinking
so
2021?
2000. So in 2000 we got both the Blue Jackets and the Wild.
Okay, so it's
That's
one
where
for
it was.
each.
I knew it happened. I just had to find out what year it was because it was gonna eat away at me. So yeah, I knew it happened. That would be my ideal situation because that brings in
Yeah.
so much revenue for the league too because you have to buy that
Yeah.
slot and that gets split among all the owners and that's
Yeah.
ultimately what they want. Unfortunately, that's
Yeah.
kind of the way it works. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, man. That wraps up the hockey talk. Any closing thoughts before we head on out of here?
No, I'm hoping for more trades over the off season, and I'm just fired up for the season to get back rolling, getting back into the swing of things in real life, and spending time with my family, being grateful for life.
As a hockey fan, these are the dark hours, man. These
Yeah,
are the dark hours.
it's
After free
rough.
agency ends, well, at least mostly ends, there's still a couple guys out there that'll get signed. Like this is just the
Yeah.
toughest time.
I saw the UFA remaining list, and one of the top guys, it might have been Kyle Opozo was the top guy.
I just want to throw this out there. For a while, it was Daniel Sprong.
It took him a long time.
He didn't even get a big deal.
I know, but he's had 39 goals in the past 2 years. Like that's a steal.
Yeah, he's a quality piece. They got a good deal there.
Yeah, but he's on the older end if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's on the other side of 30 for sure. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that wraps things up.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will see you for episode 6. Maybe we'll have a guest. Maybe we won't. I don't know yet. We'll figure it out.
That'll be a dub if we didn't. See ya.
Peace.